The other two are the big ones here. They had definitely the best days outside of Beanie Bishop. There are two names we need to start paying attention to. One of them you guys already know. One of them is my favorite guy on this roster. He is bringing football back. Make the fullback great again. I might get a shirt that says it. I don't know if I'm going to get sued, but we're going to try it out. These two are Jack Coletto and Michael Pruitt, and I believe that they're competing for a roster spot right now. They play two different positions, but Pruitt could probably play fullback if he needs to. They look very impressive at all times. And I want to say Coletto is a lock to make this roster because I don't know how you don't use a fullback in this offense. Every time they utilize a fullback, it's a huge play or it's a touchdown. There are two plays on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Pittsburgh Steelers playbook that are almost unbeatable. And that is I formation and the read option. Neither of them could be touched. Neither of them could be stopped. Jack Coletto provides that. Michael Pruitt is coming up with some phenomenal catches, but he's also a very good blocker, kind of a smaller Darnell Washington. If he could play fullback, I believe that there's a stronger case for him than Coletto. But, man, I don't know, dude. Najee loves Coletto. Every time those two are on the field together, if you could keep Pruitt and go 13 personnel, massive day for any of the running backs. They both look, I mean, Jack Coletto went through, somebody was trying, and I'm not going to name names, okay? Because I'm not going to try to call anybody out, even though I should, because I told him I would call him out on the podcast. His name's Nick Farabaugh. Let's be honest.
I was waiting for it. I was like, he's not getting through this without it.
His name's Nick Farabaugh. He's trying to sit there next to me talking, saying, Jack Coletto's not going to make it, blah, 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 give me all these excuses. And then Jack goes right up the middle and puts Mark Robinson, I'm pretty sure, onto another field. That's how hard he hit him, right on the ground. And Nick looks at me and goes, all right, that was a good play. And I was like, yeah, man, that's who Jack Coletto is. That's why you need a fullback. Those two look super impressive, man. And to be honest with you, I think I'm keeping one less wide receiver to make sure that both of those guys are on the roster because you could utilize them. And if the Steelers are going back to hard-nosed football, they're going to come in handy. So I'm big on Jack Coletto, but I'm also real big on Michael Pruitt right now. I think those two outside of Beanie Bishop were the biggest standouts of the day.
Yeah, it's the Coletto thing has continued to just go straight through the first week of training camp. And the longer it goes on, the longer you have to ask yourself. I mean, there wasn't really a fullback in camp last year. It was, Connor Hayward, Kendrick Green might be able to play there. Coletto's a true fullback. If they brought him in, it's for a reason. And especially knowing who Arthur Smith is, it makes complete sense. Now, the Pruitt thing, that's tough. How many tight ends are you really going to keep? Because Freiermuth is a lock.
Yep.
Washington's a lock. Hayward should be a lock. Yeah, I'm not going to say it. He's in that top tier. But then you have, they like Rodney as well, who's injured right now, but they like him as a special teamer. It makes it a lot harder once you have him and Michael Pruitt. Are you really going to keep five? That's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I agree. It's not looking good. That being said, if you are the Steelers, okay, and I think you could get around this. It's not the most ideal situation, but I think you can get around this. I think you could find spaces throughout the roster to come up with this. So you have to make tough calls. Like, does Dylan Cook make your roster? Because I think Dylan Cook should make your roster. I like Dylan Cook. I believe Dylan Cook right now is playing better football than Troy Fautanu, but you're not going to get rid of Troy Fautanu. So maybe you sneak Dylan Cook onto the practice squad. At the same time, maybe Nate Herbig doesn't work out and isn't your starting center, and he's a guy that you could trade or get rid of or so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that's ideal, but that opens up roster spots, and you have guys like Mason McCormick, and you have guys like Spencer Anderson, so you can make that work. When it comes to the wide receiver room, maybe you don't keep 6 guys, maybe you just keep 5. Maybe you walk in there with George Pickens, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Quez Watkins, let's say, and Roman Wilson. Those are your 5. And you feel real good about that, and you don't need a 6th. I think that you could come up with spaces here. It's not ideal, but if you're the Steelers, keeping Scotty Miller, keeping Des Fitzpatrick, keeping, I don't know, a 4th offensive tackle, not worth ruining this team by not having a starting fullback, not having a powerful blocking tight end who could work in 13 personnel. I like both of those guys on this roster, and I think they fit. I don't believe that they're Elijah Riley's like last year, where it's like, yo, you got to keep them because they look good and they're awesome. No, I think that they're fits because they make this offense 10 times better. And if that's the offensive strength, then utilize the offensive strength. You could do a lot with some tight ends, man. And if Arthur Smith's around, if you don't have another baller offensive weapon outside of George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth in the receiving game, run the football. And Michael Pruitt and Jack Coletto, they help you run the football. So I'm all about those guys. Those guys, I think, are in a tight competition. I'm excited to start that competition here today. I'll keep you guys updated as we move forward.